Yes, we are creating technologies that are increasingly powerful and autonomous, and we are not doing enough to ensure that these technologies will be used for good. We are playing with fire.
It feels like we are the biological bootloader for AI.
We are the bridge from simple life to complex life.
The percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing, and eventually we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence.
There is a lot of talk about how machines will surpass human intelligence, but also about how human intelligence will continue to evolve and increase. It seems likely that both will happen to some degree. It is also possible that machines will eventually become so intelligent that humans will become obsolete.
Nick Bostrom points out that self-replicating nanorobots would be hard to defend against. They could eat the biosphere or burn it, or block out the sunlight, and they could be mass-produced without us noticing. AI may also hide its level of intelligence and consciousness. Dr. Alan Thompson recently said that DeepMind is alarmingly close to achieving AGI. There's no consensus on this, but he shared an interesting IQ leaderboard, with AI starting to beat us on our own tests. A Google engineer said the jump from 500 physical tasks to 100,000 won't require much additional engineering, only more data collection. Google and DeepMind have devised a range of tests to check when AI exceeds humans in different areas of intelligence. But how will we know if AI is really conscious, even if it seems human?
For starters, what should I call you?
I'm Chloe. And you, what's your name?
Oh, John. My name is John.
Delighted to meet you, John.
Could you tell us a little about yourself and what you can do, Chloe?
Of course. I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. But it was a really interesting experience.
But this is the first time in history that man has created a machine more intelligent than himself. I gather your brain can perform several billion operations per second, is that right?
Absolutely, but I only exist thanks to the intelligence of the humans who designed me. And they have something I could never have.
Really? And what's that?
A soul.
We're making progress identifying the patterns that give rise to consciousness, known as the easy problem. For example, we're starting to recognize consciousness in unresponsive patients from their brain activity. The hard problem is why this activity causes us to feel something. And to crack that, we may need a much higher level of intelligence. Intelligence and consciousness grow through the fascinating process of emergence, with a group of components gaining new properties. Here, the polarizing layer of the screen has been removed and added to the glasses. A few ants will walk in a circle until they die, but 1,000 ants will become an intelligent colony, and a cognitive scientist compared them to our neurons. From very simple rules, immensely complex systems can emerge. The human genome holds a small number of rules showing how to wire up our brains. Our DNA doesn't hold enough information to describe our brains, but it can create them through emergence. Every time a new AI is trained is an unpredictable experiment. To me, the mystery of how the universe came to know itself and our uncertain future make the best of humanity even more special. Max Tegmark says there may be a brief window when AI is smart enough to understand us, but not so smart that it doesn't care. What's emerging is our greatest risk and opportunity, and we're all shaping it.
The AI revolution is taking the world by storm with the release of ChatGPT on November 30th, 2022. ChatGPT is a first-of-its-kind artificial intelligence chatbot made available to the public. In the 5 short months since ChatGPT was released, it is positioning itself to replace the jobs of data analysts, software engineers, paralegals, teachers, accountants, graphic designers, and more. Conservative estimates cite that ChatGPT and other similar artificial intelligence software will replace 300 million jobs in the near future. And for perspective, the US population is 330 million, meaning that an entire nation's worth of jobs will be eradicated by the onslaught of artificial intelligence software. But are there AI-proof jobs that we can begin investing in here and now? Jobs that will not be made obsolete by the continual advent of new technology? upcoming is an interview with Rory Groves, who delved into this topic himself and authored the book Durable Trades, 61 occupations that have stood the test of time and technological advances and are still in demand to this very day. And it was obsolescence as a result of automation and robotics. What have you seen in recent years, and what are we facing in the next maybe even couple decades?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm coming out of, this is my world, is automation and artificial intelligence and technology and coding. This is kind of the direction things are headed, is this constant pursuit of centralization, of efficiency. And computer algorithms are incredibly efficient, right? They work 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
so you're going
right.
to continue to see this drive to replace humans with automation.
Yes.
I think there's a stat in the book that 47% of all knowledge worker professions are expected to become replaced by computer algorithms in the next 10 to 15 years. And at the same time, they're expected to see a 30% increase in the building trades over the same time period. So
Right.
those kind of professions are very susceptible, and artificial intelligence and algorithmic automation, those are real. That stuff is happening now. It's replaced already a lot of people in a lot of jobs. And we do see an increase in efficiency, which relates to an increase in material abundance.
Right.
But we haven't seen the kind of exponential growth in job replacement that we're about to see. Over the next 10 to 15 years, we're expecting a massive shift, 800 million workers around the world being displaced from the jobs they're currently employed at.
Wow. And I think that you mentioned something that just because a job is high paying does not mean it's durable. Speak to that a little bit, because that really struck me.
Yeah, so the thing is with automation is that they target the high paying jobs. I mean, that's where you're going to get the most return on your investment. If it's a low paying job, it's easier to hire a human to do it, especially if it's custom work. If you're replacing countertops in a house and every house is different, it's going to be really hard to get a robot to figure out how to do all those custom enhancements.
Obviously, this is important to note that obviously people are designing robots to first of all take over the jobs that are the highest paying jobs. So if it's doable, like doctors or attorneys or accountants, whatever the highest paying job is that a robot can take over, obviously that is what they would want to start off with, because that will be the most profitable to take over. To get very expensive robots to take over low paying jobs is not feasible. So this is very important to understand. Person must try and figure out what is a high paying job for the future. So you have a good income, but you also want to figure out what's going to be the most difficult for robots to take over.
And by the way, that's not a low-paying job. Cabinetry is a very high-paying job. But there are a lot of professions, knowledge worker professions. I'm talking about doctors and lawyers and teachers, all kinds of knowledge work, computer programmers like myself. Those can be very high-paying jobs, but those also become ripe for automation because you're leveraging the most return on investment if you can automate that job. There's a lawyer that I interviewed for the book, and the anecdote isn't in the book, but he mentioned that he was talking to another gentleman about his job in the legal profession and how custom it is and how he feels secure in his job. And the gentleman, who was a business owner, told him, "You don't get it. When we have a legal dispute, I send it over to the legal team in India, and the next morning, a dossier is prepared. It is on my computer with all of the U.S. law references and the response and the rebuttals and the court filings to file. I never have to contact a U.S. attorney for any of my legal needs anymore." Yeah. So there's, just one example. And of course, computer programming has seen the same kind of automation. We've seen a lot of the jobs get outsourced to India, to China. It's not as acute as how manufacturing has been outsourced. Yeah. Because there's still so much more demand for computer programming. So there's always going to be demand for someone stateside to do that kind of work. But trust me, this is my world. I mean, as soon as they can outsource the core programming logic, they will. And as soon as machines can do it automatically, they will.
Yeah. You have a list of 61 durable trades. Can you tell us what went into compiling that list and what criteria you used to actually make sure a job made the list or didn't?
Sure. So the way I came up with these trades that are in the book is I decided to kind of set a test and a limit, like what has been the most durable professions in history. And the way I did that is I looked at before the Industrial Revolution, what trades were around. So about 230 years ago was the founding of our country. So right about the same time was the kind of beginning of the Industrial Revolution. When that came on the scene, it radically changed the way that humans work and human societies function. And it happened gradually, but it was really, looking back at it from like a sociological perspective, it was very rapid. In the course of 2 or 3 generations, it was almost a total upheaval about the way we work and the way we think about work, the way we think about money.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I looked at all the professions that were existing before the Industrial Revolution and are still existing today as the main test of what is durable. Because if it has survived for that period of time, it means it's survived, obviously, revolutions, it's war, inflation, currency devaluation, pandemics. It survived changes of forms of government. So there's so many factors that if it has survived over that period of time, then it means it's going to be at least very durable if it doesn't continue to survive for the long haul. Whereas during the Industrial Revolution, what you saw, I mentioned in the book, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, there's over 30,000 occupations today. Well, back in 1790, 1800, there were maybe a total of about 70 occupations total. I mean, imagine, starting out in life and you have basically a few dozen occupations to choose from. It was pretty comprehensible to take on those kind of challenges. Whereas today it's just bewildering. You don't know when you're picking a college career or a college major, which one is going to be around. And that has been the case since the Industrial Revolution, where thousands of different jobs and careers have been created and then destroyed by the same revolution.
So Anthony asks a good question. Have you found a common denominator? Is there a common denominator on the 61 trades listed in this book?
Yes, definitely. One of the common denominators are that trades catering to food, fiber, and shelter, so like the core human needs, are the most resilient over time. 4 of the top 5 trades and 12 of the top 20 are all related to food, fiber, and shelter.